Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Overmare Studios podcast. I am Hamish Milne, the lead programmer, and with me we have Dragmeister, our director, and Zach, our lead designer.
Took you long enough to remember what my actual status is.
To be fair, you are very forgetful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Anyways,
hello everyone.
Anyways, if you're watching us today, then hopefully, if you were at the cons, you've actually gotten a chance to play our game. If you didn't, then blame Hamish, because he was the one that missed it.
An important note about that is actually watching this time, since it's actually video.
Well, I mean,
Indeed.
we did have the video in the previous podcast, but honestly,
Yeah,
that
but
was
this
just...
time we are actually doing it live, so...
Yeah, the plan for this podcast is we're going to actually do like a live playthrough of the demo and sort of talk about the various things which you can see, and there's some sort of behind-the-scenes stuff which you might be interested to hear. Speaking of the download codes, we had a bit of a problem sending the codes to people with Microsoft accounts, so that's Hotmail, Outlook, Live, MSN, but those now have all been sent. There's a few invalid emails still remaining. Just, let us know if you're one of those few people who hasn't managed to get it.
Yeah, there were a couple that we weren't able to send just simply because we got a complaint about invalid emails. So it's possible that either we have mistyped it or especially if you wrote it down at one of our panels where we had people just write it up on a notepad. It's possible that we have misread it. So, and that's why the address we inputted was invalid. So, if you still haven't gotten your email by the time you are seeing this, send us another email on our support page or contact us page on our website, and we'll try to get right back to you. And related to that, huge apologies for anyone who felt that we weren't quick enough to respond with relation to all of those issues. There were other things going on with people who were handling it, and we had other technical issues as well. So should be faster to respond in the future.
Just to interrupt you right there, Drag. One thing that I did read on the previous podcast was that someone actually created a drinking game for us. And now that I'm actually listening to us, I gotta agree that it would be a horrible drinking game, because whoever actually does it would get drunk way before the end of the podcast. The drinking game was that every time that you said you take a shot. And within that last sentence that you said, you would already have probably killed 3 people.
Entirely possible.
Is Drag's favourite word, and I think
he
indeed
likes
is
the
mine.
word like.
Yeah, I like it very much.
But we absolutely do sort of read all of our support emails, so don't worry if we don't always respond to them.
Actually, there was technical issues, quite major ones between mid-July and basically end of August.
That
basically during that time I was basically one of the only persons who had any time to read any emails during that time, and for whatever reason we had some issues with our email servers forwarding them to our Gmail addresses, which at least for myself I mainly use. So there were very only few selected emails that got through, and the rest of them basically none. So and because it was the con season and other stuff was going on, I was getting plenty of emails anyway, so I didn't pay attention to it.
And then
literally just last week, Hamish,
I decided to reconnect my Overmare Studios account, and actually because I'd reset my phone, and so I didn't have it anymore. So I decided to reconnect it to my Gmail, and then I discovered 4. Well, we probably shouldn't say what they were, but they were 4 really important sort of community press related type emails, which would normally be demanding of an immediate response, and it was more than a month later, and we hadn't responded to them. So
yeah, plus over 20.
Yeah, we had like
plus over 20 like normal like support type of emails that still have also like been responded to, like that I had received none of them, and like when Hemi started pasting me like those emails like, have you answered this, I was like, wait, what? Where did you get that?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty crazy.
I don't have any of that.
Like, I mean, we had one from M.A. Larson saying that, he wanted to come in as a writer. We had Lauren Faust asking if she could create original characters. Yeah. I think John Delancey wanted to make a documentary series about us. I mean, it was some pretty heavy stuff.
So, our sincerest apologies to anyone who's been affected by that. We are sort of trying to take steps to mitigate that in the future, which basically involves more people looking at the support emails, and maybe we might want to forward them to more people in the future, but I'm not really sure. We can discuss that later on.
We have already taken steps to mitigate that, and like are going to take further steps. So yeah, but if you do feel like our response is not like adequate enough, like feel free to complain about that as well. So we like no, it's not like up to standards, and yeah.
I mean, we tend to respond in different ways. I basically tend to just like answer the question directly, maybe with a dash Hamish. And then Drag does the full, yours sincerely, Dragmeister project director, The Overmare Studios, sort of thing. So, yes. That is a slightly amusing anecdote, which I have just said.
I actually don't honestly look at the emails as much as I should, so...
I didn't even know they were forwarded to you. I only thought they were forwarded to me, Drag, and Kyle.
I'm pretty sure Yeah, I'm getting...
No, he gets at least some of them, but I'm not sure if he gets support. Like, he gets at least anything related to his team, like the applications and stuff like that.
Oh, applications. Yeah, no, we get all the feedback ones as well. So anything sent through our form, we get.
Oh, I see how it is. You guys just are like,
we're special.
Yeah.
The inner
you
circle.
Guys are special, all right. Anyways, I think that we should actually probably get on to the thing that most people
the actual meat of the show.
Yes. The reason you're all here watching us ramble on.
Hopefully Drag did some kind of cool transition to the screen that you see now. This is our horrible, horrible, terrible demo that we are all ashamed of.
Yes. Speaking of, basically what we're doing is we're sort of screen sharing it through Skype. Oh, there we go, I saw you move now. So that me and Drag can actually see what's going on, and then Zach is recording it on his end. So it should hopefully... It looks terrible for me and Drag, but it should look pretty nice for you guys watching at home.
And for those of you that are motion sickness, here you go. Yeah.
Yes, the movement. That's an interesting thing to talk about. Basically, this has been like the number one complaint, quite rightly, that people are giving us, was that the movement feels really bad. It feels clunky and horrible, and it tilts all the time, and it's nasty. And yeah, it kind of is. Basically, the big problem, one of the major issues with developing a game like this one is that we have a quadrupedal main character. And this is actually a huge deal, basically because it makes the movement many times more complicated than if they're bipedal. Because it means that you have to essentially treat the head and body as separate, because the head... because the body is so long, and it's not a circular shape. It's this sort of oblong shape, ovally shape. That you need to treat animations differently, and you need to treat movement differently. As a simple example, what happens when you're in a tight corridor and you want to turn? Do you not allow them to turn? Do you try and move them out into the right way or not? In our case, we don't really have a solution to that immediately, but it will probably involve not making any really tight spaces. But anyway, everyone will be pleased to know that the movement has now been fixed by me, and you will see a much improved version of it in the Wave 3 demo, which is scheduled,
Christmas
weather permitting, for around Christmas time. Yes.
Assuming nothing goes horribly wrong, so which usually happens, so we'll try to our best to not have that happen. But yeah, and another related issue was like sort of not sure if I was surprised or not, to be honest, but like that like the tank-like movement that we have going because of the whole quadruped aspect like was actually like pretty well received based on our feedback so far. Like it
was about half and half. I noticed.
No, like,
half the people said it made it more realistic, and half didn't.
Oh, like but like still like even those half that like didn't say that it was like realistic, like say that they got used to it pretty quickly, and like they didn't.
Well, actually, we technically can't make that correlation because there's no way to get this. Actually, no, we can make that correlation if we actually look through the individual statistics. But yeah, a majority of people said they could get used to it. The sort of compromise that I've done in the new movement system is to essentially, it's still to make it essentially play like you're in first person. So if you're in first person and walking around, it doesn't feel any different to any other first person game.
Basically,
the tank-like movement becomes
yeah,
exactly. Sorry. The sort of. Are you holding down orbit, essentially?
No. I'm just looking up and just pressing C repeatedly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would happen. Anyway.
That would, of course, that does it. Yeah. So it means that the tank-like animation becomes something which you see when you're in third person, but you don't experience it when you're in first person.
It's just
the controls feel much smoother.
Yeah, it's essentially like more visual type of thing than it is anything else.
Exactly.
Oh, and for those of you that watched our previous videos that were complaining about the eyes, you'll be happy to notice that the eyes move. Like, see, look, they move.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only issue with that is that like they have been set to like look at wherever you are looking at, which means when you are like to look behind you, like that happens.
Someone actually made an interesting comment on when was it? I think it was someone who was I did like an internal test of the movement system that I did. Oh yeah, you can do that as well. You can also get her to look at a fly on the tip of her nose if you're really careful. But yeah, when I did this internal test of the new movement style, someone mentioned that it would be nice if it would feel more natural if you looked at first with your eyes rather than first with your head. And that's kind of an interesting thing. It's certainly something that I'm considering doing for NPCs, but I don't know whether it would work with the player. Because when you look around, you do sort of, at least in this type of game, you do sort of expect for the head to move as well.
Yeah, the big thing is that whenever you look around, primarily you're gonna see the back of the head first, because even in first or third person, like, the only real way that you would be able to see the eyes move is to see the, zoom out and kind of rotate the camera from the front, which, you're not gonna play with like that. It's not really playable like that. So the only thing that you would be able to see is, the head just kind of looking forward like this. They could be looking off to the left, and the eyes could be pointed to the left, but in reality, it's still just looking like she's looking off to the front. You still want to have the head move around.
You want to have the feedback for whatever you're doing.
Yeah. I think, though, for NPCs, that is quite a good idea, such that they will at first look at you with their eyes and then turn their head when that reaches their limit. I think that would be good for.
Yeah, we could definitely
NPCs.
at least give it a shot and see how it feels like.
Yeah.
It could even be a combination of both, honestly.
Well, yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So for NPCs, they would do that, and for the player, they wouldn't.
For the NPCs, they would do a combination of both.
They would, like, if it gets too far to the side, then they will obviously turn their head if they wanted to keep looking at whatever it is.
Exactly, which is more like how you would behave as if you're in real life looking at things. Yeah. Another alternative is that their eyes will sort of rapidly move to look at the given spot, and then their heads will turn more slowly to align with it.
Yeah, we'll need to play around with it and see it. Another interesting thing that actually we didn't receive any feedback so far that people like completely liked it or like disliked, but they thought it should be like shorter. Is the like thing we have with the crouching and jumping animations with that, since at the moment they are sort of like tied to the animation themselves rather than being immediate response. So like if you press jumping button, like it takes like I think at the moment like a second or so before the actual jumping happens, because the animation that have like the actually like the start of the animation takes so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that we can. Sorry, go on.
If you look at it in like third person right now, you can tell that it's immediate. Like as soon as I press the space bar, she jumps up, does her little thing. But then you go into first person, and it seems like there's this almost second to half second delay.
Yeah, because you don't see that like when she's like taking a little like crouching a little to get better jump. So
I mean, we can. I actually played around with this in the editor, and actually, we can make the delay feel almost imperceptible while being able to keep the nice-looking animations just by cutting off like the first third or so of the jump animation. And the same with the. I think with the sneaking, you want to just speed up those transitions, and that will probably basically fix it without having to needing to redo the animations.
Yeah.
But of course, we might end up redoing them anyway if Naka says that would be a good idea. So
yeah. But like it was still interesting to notice that like people like didn't mind it as much, or like they.
I've seen quite a few people that were not exactly a fan of the delay. Although for some reason I'm not getting that. For sometimes I'm noticing that I'm actually not getting as much of a delay whenever I press it. Like right there.
Yeah, it's essentially because it depends on what your movement state is.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I forget whether we can have transitions between movement states allowed to be interrupted or not. But yeah, either way, if we make it so they can be interrupted, then you'll notice that the delay should be generally much shorter.
Yeah, like there is a lot of work still to be like done and refinement around all of those aspects. So. Anyway, should we move into more other stuff? Like
yeah, we can probably talk about equipment. Do you want to grab some armor?